Hi, my name is Lorenzo Azar Banks here on behalf of Minority Report Law Office here in Oklahoma City. And today we're doing another video response to a question that we had posted to our Facebook page. And the question goes something like this. Lorenzo, I stay in an apartment complex and I'm looking to get satellite television. But my apartment complex is telling me that the usage of satellites is strictly prohibited on the premises. Can my apartment complex completely ban the usage of satellite television? No. I know. Are there several apartment complexes that do this? Yes. But that doesn't mean that they're doing it legally. Let's learn more about the law. Now, the Federal Communication Commission is the federal agency that is responsible for regulating all communication done here in the United States that's done via television, wire, radio, and satellite. And to do this, they make rules. And one of the rules that the FCC created in October of 1996 is the OTARD rule. OTARD is an abbreviation for over-the-air reception devices. And the FCC created the OTARD rule to prevent not only government, but also private actors from placing certain types of restrictions on certain types of over-the-air reception devices. And the OTARD rule goes on to say this, that one of the over-the-air reception devices that is protected by the rule has to meet a couple of prongs. The first prong is that it is a satellite that is 1 meter or less in diameter, and that's only for 49 of the states. In Alaska, it can be any size, but for Oklahoma and 48 other states, not including Alaska, the diameter of the satellite must be 1 meter or less. That's the first prong. The second prong is that that satellite must be installed in an area that is exclusively used and controlled by the owner of the satellite, and the owner of that satellite has at least a leasehold interest in that property upon which that satellite is installed. Now listen, that's a fancy lawyer's definition to say this. If you have a lease for an apartment, and part of your lease included some place that you have exclusive control over and use of, that is not only the inside of your apartment, but someplace like a storage facility directly behind your apartment, or a patio off the back of your apartment, a balcony that's off the bedroom of your apartment if you're on the second floor or higher. If you have an area like that, and you have a satellite, if you're in Oklahoma or 48 other states, that is 1 meter or less in diameter, and if you're in Alaska, it can be any size, that is installed on that property that I've just described, then you have an over-the-air reception device that is governed and controlled and protected by this particular OTARD rule. And the OTARD rule goes on to say this, that if you have a device that's covered by the rule, then no government or private actor can place a restriction on that device that, one, unreasonably delays or prevents the installation, maintenance, and use of that device. Number two, they cannot create a restriction that unreasonably raises the cost of the installation, use, or maintenance of that device. And number three, they cannot create a restriction that would somehow preclude the owner of the satellite from getting an adequate signal. These protections are there under OTARD if your device falls within the rule. Now, for this question, the question was, can they completely ban the usage of satellites? Well, the answer is a definite no. Well, why? Well, it's because of the very first protection I said under the rule, that if it falls under the device, if the device falls under the rule, you cannot create a restriction that is going to unreasonably delay or prevent the installation thereof. Certainly, a complex-wide ban on satellites would unreasonably prevent the installation of such a device. Bottom line, if you have an apartment complex that has this type of restriction, and you have a satellite dish that falls under the rule like I've described here, that apartment complex is breaking the law. So some things we want to take away from this video. For every rule, there's an exception to the rule. And the OTARD rule says that even if a restriction violates the OTARD rule, that restriction may remain in place if, number one, if that restriction was created to meet a clear and legitimate safety objective, or, number two, that restriction was created to preserve a building or structure that is eligible for the National Register for Historic Places. Once again, my name is Lorenzo Azar Banks here on behalf of Minority Report Law. You can reach us at minorityreportlaw.com, or you can catch us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/MRLawOffice. Post your questions there and like us so you can keep up with the videos that we're posting. We all enjoy television service providers, but just because you stay inside of an apartment complex doesn't mean that you're doomed to not have the choice of getting a satellite service provider. I hope this was informative, and hey, we'll see you next time.